Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to review The Guardians of Justice, Season 1, Episode 4 and 5. I say 4 and 5 simply because I'm like, I want to kind of perfectly pace out these episodes so it doesn't feel like I'm just going on doing one last episode that's only X amount of minutes, and then I'll just be like, okay, here's a 5-minute review of everything and I'm done. Plus, it also seems that people were to really like this review compared to anything else, meaning that more people went into this one than others because it's a brand new thing. So thank you for that. Thank you for helping out the channel in that manner. So, we go into this episode, and there's starting to eventually be some things where I'll say that I'm kind of a little annoyed by. Just feels like they're just kind of now, they're just like, hey, now that we've already had a number of people that have already been on this show for 3 episodes, how about we just keep adding more people and have them have their own story? I'm like, good God, how many people do you just have to add for the purpose of them doing diddly nothing? Just to just stand there and I'm just so, there's so many things going on in these episodes, but now you just have to, forcibly add people just to tick me off. One thing that I also want to correct from episodes 1 through 3, I think I had gone on and called the president POTUS, because that's what was on my notes, weirdly. And I think his actual name is Nick Newcomb, or some goofy thing like that. So, I don't know where that came from, but that's what it just said on my notes, so that's what I blabbed. Not really double-checking any of this, so it is what it is. But I guess all the other names are technically correct. I'm hoping. But yeah, so really a little bit just there's a jumbled mess of a bunch of stuff going on in these episodes, to where I'm just like, you know what, I'd really like there to be just superheroes in live action that are actually doing fight scenes. That would be great, instead of just this animated nonsense that just gets fused into stuff. And there's always this continuity problem where it seems like there's different costumes for different kind of besides Marvelous Man, everything else seems to be just whatever it has to be for whatever claymation, animation, live action thing that it just needs to be at whatever period of time. This kind of feels like Dante's Inferno, if anybody was to see the live action movie of that, where we just have a number of different slides of stuff that are just mashed all together. And I'm just like, wait a minute, what? Wait, we had Dante who looked like this in the first 10 minutes of this film. All of a sudden we transition into another chapter or another thing, and then now we have Dante who has completely a different visual. I don't know who any number of these characters now are because they look different completely. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's kind of like that in this show. Plus, we have Kevin Hart, or Phil Hart, the talk show host that they interject in this episode, or in these episodes, to have him as a more prominent role if he wasn't already kind of barely shown in one other episode. He's much more prominently used here to kind of ask all these characters questions about, of course, Marvelous Man and kind of a number of other things. because we start to now have to have Nighthawk, who is starting to question the Guardians of Justice, to think that, like, maybe they had something to do with this, because they've already just quickly exhausted all of their they've quickly already exhausted all of their, like, suspects from the evil side of things. Really? Like, it just feels like they probably just questioned, like, two whole people, it seemed. And they've already just, like, okay, well, I guess it has to be the Guardians. They're just doing it, I guess. I don't know. Like, it's gonna just get down to the point where, like, maybe, like, a person who is to think, oh, I definitely am not the person. Maybe they're all of a sudden gonna think, maybe I am the guy who killed Marvelous Man. Somehow or another. Maybe my screams of agony was to just to murder Marvelous Man. Oh my god. I don't know. With that said, let's go into that double five time territory. Let's just go into the spoilers about this episode. I guess I could probably tee it up. Teeing up version. What rambled mess of all kinds of craziness kind of goes on in this episode? Well, Awesome Man is to get a date. Nightwing has to tell his little son a bedtime story. And we, of course, have this show's version of Catwoman being portrayed within these episodes. We find out that Black Bow and Blue Scream look drastically different than however they were to be put together in previous episodes, because why have continuity anywhere? But it seems like they have some night candy business, and so good for them within this episodes. And really, other than that, we find out that Marvelous Man is to have possibly had a secret, as well as probably a number of other problems that just kind of maybe compiled and accumulated with all the stuff going on, like, within the story. Like, Marvelous Man is just compiling on about all the reasons that he could have gone on and pulled the trigger himself, because there's just so many problems within this world in this first these other two episodes. Good grief. So let's try our best to be able to say that we saw these episodes, because technically we did, and let's hope to God I'm able to somehow review them, because here we go. For these episodes, we kind of have a much more, instead of a completely still, like, Mortal Kombat theme, we have some arcade kind of visuals. They mean nothing, but they're like arcade visuals to kind of show the Golden Goddess, and to, of course, show Nighthawk kind of doing, like, Batman-ish like things. Sure. So let's go into that double five time territory. Let's just go into this thing, who is ultimately to be called upon my mind to be called spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time we get to spoil these episodes. So in episode 4, in the very beginning, we have it where they have motion blur, where it seems that Speed is trying to go out of her way to catch motion blur, but then again, did she catch him? Do the animated things connect with the live action, or are they just, like, things to kill time? I don't freaking know at this point, because blah. So we find out that Motion Blur is to really love that mellow devil, and he is to go on and consistently try to find these drugs wherever he can and inhale them within his nose. And so Speed is to go on and find Motion Blur and is to electrify his heart so that way I guess it starts beating again. And so we of course have Nighthawk after that whole fighting moment. We have Nighthawk wanting to go on and question every single member of the Guardians of Justice. While also, since Awesome Man had gone on and helped Speed within the animated scene of this, like towards the end where he kind of helps her, kind of like saves her life a little bit, we have Awesome Man who's kind of like pumping iron, working out, and so he is calling Speed, and Speed has this secretary that's kind of taking all these calls. She's like, Toronto, number any frickin' city I can just say right now, Bermuda Triangle, Alabama, the unknown, Jupiter. So that's a planet. So all of a sudden we have Awesome Man that is calling Speed and is asking, I guess, this girl's secretary out. And the secretary is just like, well, I'm going to transfer you over to Speed. So Awesome goes on and he is to talk to Speed, who is bizarrely just always on this treadmill when she's not doing some job. Okay, that just doesn't... It's weird. So, Awesome Man is kind of playing off that it's like, well, hey, maybe you're busy, and you know what, I'm probably busy, and Speed is just like, you know what, Awesome Man, just kind of like spill the beans. And Awesome Man is just like, well, like, you know what, like, I just feel lonely. And like I feel like you and me, like we can go on and just like be less lonely together. So so this is kind of like the Watchmen, where of course we have the owl and the one girl in the yellow and black, like they get together. The Scarlet girl, the whoever the one the couple of the Watchmen. So weirdly, what ends up happening between these two is Speed is just like, well, okay, like, all right, like we'll go on a date. And so really they just kind of sit by this couch and they just talk about things. And though I guess those are numerous dates that they've been having, they just talk things out in the same house consistently. And so Speed is talking about that she doesn't trust Nighthawk. And Awesome Man's like, well, how can you not trust Nighthawk? Like, he went on and, like, was a mentor to Little Wing, and Little Wing is pretty good. And Speed is just like, I don't know, like he trained a little kid to, like, kill people, basically. So the both of them are kind of talking back and forth, and we have Awesome Man that's kind of seeing like hearts, and he's immediately thinking like, man, if only I can get her into a bed. And Speed is thinking about how can I get myself a pie. And so at some point Speed is asking Awesome Man, hey, do you want a pie? Do you want cheesecake? Do you want apple pie? And Awesome Man's like, yeah, apple pie. And it's like, yeah, me too. So they go on and they're eating pie for whatever reason. So it's just like the dating game of whatever. But like I really appreciate the dialogue that kind of goes back and forth here. They kind of really see who Speed really is. Uh, because it seems like we already know who Awesome Man is. It seems like he's overall a good guy. Because we'll get to that in a minute here. So in this episode, we of course have Nighthawk, who is to have to figure out what was to really go down with Marvelous Man. And so Marvelous Man is to make his way to speak with Laura Lang, who he finds out is to have had an affair with Marvelous, or against Marvelous Man, with King Tsunami. And so Nighthawk is just like, Laura, like, how could you? And Laura is just like, well, really, she thought that if she was to be with Marvelous Man, that she would be famous and popular, and everyone would just fan over her, like, oh my god, like that couple, oh my god. So come to find out that these two people were like forced to be in a relationship together, and they were both just miserable. And so Laura finally decided to go off and sleep with King Typhoon, and Marvelous Man knew about it. And so he confronted Laura about it, saying like, "Hey, don't lie to me. Tell me you had an affair. Like I could tell your heart if you're lying to me." So we have Nighthawk, who goes on to King Typhoon. I'm like, all right, we actually see Kevin Lutz in the show. Besides him just being on some screen somewhere, we actually get to physically see him. And so we're consistently having Nighthawk, who, of course, is to consistently still use this Cortex thing to the point of him, like, getting brain damage now. That's how, like, viciously he's using this thing. And so Nighthawk is going and rewatching the interview that he had with King Tsunami, because we couldn't have actually just been there. Why is Nighthawk rewatching his own interview? That makes no sense. But whatever for this show. Just uh, I give up. So Nighthawk is talking to King Tsunami, and King Tsunami confirms that Laura and him were having an affair because Laura needed a real man, I guess. A fish man? But real man, I guess. And so Nighthawk, we find out that King Tsunami actually lives in Atlantis. As if that's not like straight up Aquaman. I don't know what is. Where is Golden Goddess from? The Amazons? The Amazonians? Or is she from eBay? So that way there could be a little tweakingly different. Popularity, whatever. Anyways. So not only was Marvelous Man dealing with that garbage, but also Nighthawk goes into the Cortex thing, which, like, a lot of people say that this is, like, it's Cerebro, but it's also, like, Jarvis. So, like, there's a combination. So it's kind of like Nighthawk is, like, freaking Iron Man, technically. And there could be a lot of, there could be a lot of smart thinking of that, because when really thinking about it, like Iron Man and Batman, it's like they're basically both rich people. But why is it that Batman has such a lower budget costume? Well, probably because he has martial arts skills, and Iron Man just has the skills to have a rocket shoot out of his arm. So it's all he can do, just fire away lethally. So Nighthawk is to go on and check the last times of which that Marvelous Man was to be with any of the Guardians on some mission somewhere. And that leads to having Marvelous Man be at the tail end of some mission with Blue Scream and Black Bow, where we actually see that Black Bow is like a legitimate like combination between like the looks of Black Canary, but like she's basically Green Arrow. Or I guess maybe Hawkeye would make more sense, but and also can we get somewhere like consistent with Blue Scream's costume anytime soon? Like it feels like he's like looks one way in one episode, but then another he's all over the gosh darn place. We all of a sudden have Blue Scream that's out with Black Bow, and Black Bow is wearing this white mask. I'm like, when was she ever wearing that before? And Blue Scream is all of a sudden having this like massive like skull like helmet thing on. I'm like, wait a minute, what? What? When did Blue Scream have this before? When? I'm sorry about my snort there, but like, wait a minute. When did Blue Scream have a helmet? What the fuck? Like, they can't. What? Can they not have continuity through every episode? Good God. Just. Like, some of these superheroes just need to be whatever they're being for certain things. It's just. It's a madhouse. So. All of a sudden, we see this wild barrage on Blue Scream. He has like a number of just like sponsorships. So he's like Captain Amazing from Mystery Man, where all of a sudden we had like Captain Amazing who had like the Japanese Pepsi logo and all kinds of like goofy sponsorship, to where at some point they kind of started to make fun of him for how many sponsors that he had. And now he's starting to lose sponsorship because he's losing his rogues gallery of villains, and he has no one left to fight. So he's losing all of his sponsorship, which is kind of just weird. You would think that Captain Amazing would eventually just kind of store quite a bit of cash away to then just retire, especially with him technically being a lawyer, right? Or whatever that he was in that show or that movie. Anyways, pushing on. So, we find out that both Black Bow and Blue Scream are to go on and start offing people, but they then get their hands on some mellow devil. And so all of a sudden, we have it to where both of these two characters, we realize they go on and they're taking Mellow Devil and they're consuming this drug, and Marvelous Man is to find out about it, and he's like, aha, like, I caught you red-handed, or whatever hand technically you are wearing this episode. Maybe it's white, maybe it's red, maybe it's gray, who knows? Next episode, maybe we'll have a completely different actress playing some character. Like, what the happened? Who knows? The show needs to just be whatever it needs to be. So, we have, of course, Marvelous Man, who is to ban both Black Bow and Blue Scream from the Guardians of Justice. I'm like, so evidently that didn't stick. And so Nighthawk is thinking like, well, I need to go on and I need to talk to these two. And so what better place than some weird, goofy looking nightclub where these guys are both in a bathroom stall and Nighthawk has to kind of night it up and just start beating the crap out of people and then go on and just shove Blue Scream into a toilet. It's got to be pretty bad. And then he also goes on and he's like trying to take out uh, Black Bow, but he doesn't kill either one of them. So here's one thing. I actually liked the justification of these two heroes doing what they're doing. But it kind of has a weird, goofy end result for this. And so and plus, there's one thing that I forgot about as well as a number of other bajillion things in this episode. We also had this villain called Mastermind that just kind of shows up. Mastermind, I believe, he is to be kind of like the Marvel's Purple Man, where it seems like if he has a number of people around, we of course have this mastermind guy who can kind of control a number of people all at once to fight alongside him or whichever. I really would have loved to have a guy like Mastermind or the Purple Man being like heavily used in a lot more interesting circumstances. Like, I would love freaking that kind of character to be used in like team movies and shows, and because that would make heck of a lot more sense than just having like, oh well, this is like Purple Man against like Jessica Jones. Like, I'm like, it seems like a wasted at bat. Like, you should actually have Purple Man who is like controlling a number of people against a team of people. Like, it would have made a lot more sense for all that stuff, but it is what it is. What can you do? So, like, they just kind of showcase Mastermind, as well as he also like showcased Logan Lockwood in this episode. Also, I'm gonna get back to the Black Bow, and I'm gonna get back to the Blue Scream in just a minute here. 60 seconds from now. Logan goes on and talks about how Marvelous Man really there's a chance that the Guardians was to do Marvelous Man in themselves, just so that way they can go on and sell this to people like they're selling a soda. And Logan goes on, is like, well, yeah, and you can't, you can't own the word justice. You can't own it. I'm like, I just felt like what Logan was kind of saying was all kind of like ramblings of stuff, but like, you know what? Like, the freaking guy like created this whole thing, so like, give him a break. But yeah, but it was like, it does kind of make sense. Like, how far would a superhero team go to try to get them the most news coverage, or to really like push them much more into the mainstream by having one of their big heroes getting booted? Like, I honestly would think that that would be really interesting if we just really had a team that was just so desperate to get out there in the limelight because they were irrelevant. And like, what better way to just kind of turn around and have one of their biggest stars getting the biggest boot, so to speak, by death to just kind of push them out there more. It's just like, oh man, like we should fund these guys. Like, hey, we should go on and like we should like more superheroes should just be spawning out there to go and save the day. Because like that happens with like The Boys, where we of course had, and a lot of people will compare this show to The Boys, where all of a sudden we have it where like Starlight all of a sudden is to like be pushed into the Seven, because like everybody's just kind of waiting for some superhero to just croak, so that way they're like, oh man, hey, I'm free. Like, hire me into the Justice. Like, yeah, I'll do whatever you want. I'll do whatever you need me to do. So, yeah. So, Nighthawk is to talk to both Black Bow and Blue Scream. Black and blue. My bow! My bows! Anyways. Nighthawk is to tell him, it's like, well, hey, like, why do the drugs? Like, why do the mellow yellow? Or the mellow devil? And Black Bow is to mention, it's like, well, hey, like, you know, with our job comes to just be a thing where you have to forcibly see things that you just can't unsee. And Nighthawk is like, well, yeah, I get it. Because I guess Nighthawk had a alcoholic problem. And so, like, he gets exactly where she's coming from. That, like, yeah, it's just to like try to like figure out a way to uh like get through your day, when of course you realize you're just going to go into to more carnage and more so on and so forth. So we have Nighthawk who's going on and is like, well, hey, you know what, I'm not going to boot or ban you guys out of the Guardians of Justice, but what I'm going to have you guys turn around and do is just kind of collect like the bottom of the barrel kind of people and bring them all to the Citadel, so that way everybody can just be like, hurrah, hurrah, for these people coming to the Citadel. And so, yeah. So, like, I guess technically Nighthawk is to kind of technically wrap up most of his interviews within within this episode, and we kind of have some kind of lingering things for the most part, because it doesn't really seem like any of these interviews are really going to go anywhere. But in the next episode, we of course have Nighthawk, who goes out to speak with Golden Goddess, to speak with Awesome Man, and to speak with Speed. Really, they all are going to turn out Bupkis, but it is what it is with the story. So, let's talk about Nighthawk going to Golden Goddess. So, and how interesting Golden Goddess was. It was like, oh my god, like, man, this character, not only do I just thoroughly enjoy this character, good grief, do we have, how many close-up like chest shots can we get? How many close-up any body part thing can we just get for this woman? I'm like, oh my god. So we have Nighthawk, who makes his way into the Amazons, or whatever they want to say that this woman's hideout is. So Nighthawk makes it into this place and is talking to the Golden Goddess. And while he's talking to her, like, we just consistently get these visuals, like these close-up visuals of this girl's body or her chest, like being very like mentally like seductive to Nighthawk. I think with her red eyes just consistently like teed up on Nighthawk, like Nighthawk is just desperately trying to resist and trying to come up with all of his questioning, but he is consistently like thrown off by Golden Goddess. Probably hence why there's a real reason why Nighthawk talked to Golden Goddess, like just through like this kind of uh, like kind of hologram thing before, just because like, hey, I don't want to get anywhere close to her because I'll be freaking hypnotized by her seduction. So we have it where Nighthawk is kind of questioning Golden Goddess and questioning whether or not, of course, she was to possibly be uh, Marvel Man's killer. And Nighthawk asks Golden Goddess about the last time that she was with Marvelous Man, and Golden Goddess is to mention that she was fighting Commander Zed with Marvelous Man. I'm like, so not General Zod, Commander Zed. Sure. Uh, this Commander Zed kind of looked bizarro-ish, but like I don't know, they've gone on and tweaked General Zod's costumes for a number of time. When you kind of look at the movie Man of Steel, how like we just have General Zod's costume that's like black and kind of like a mirror thing of Soup's. So we of course have it where Marvelous Man is kind of going weak or going limp on Commander Zed. He can't go on and kill a Caltron like him. It's impossible for him. And so Golden Goddess is to go on and kill Commander Zed herself, going on and stabbing this guy with her sword and killing him that way. Because more than likely, what I'm possibly thinking is maybe Marvelous Man might have had some kind of like lovin' with Zed, is what I'm thinking, Commander Zed, and maybe we're gonna find that out somehow. Because I don't know, I just have this weird, goofy suspicion. So after, of course, Nighthawk is to talk with Golden Goddess, and it seems that Golden Goddess is to attack Nighthawk to where he's like being suffocated by a magical gagging thing of sorts. All of a sudden, Awesome Man is to come into fray and to fight with Golden Goddess. And here's just where these two characters get whatever superpower that they just need to just kind of look cool right now. Like, you don't even need to, like, justify or whatever. Just kind of give them a random power and let them fight it out because it's Mortal Kombat time and it's round one fight. So we have Awesome Man with this like fire breathing power, which I'm like, okay, I don't know how that relates to a god of sorts, but it is what it is. And Golden Goddess would have this like screaming power. I'm like, what Wonder Woman power is that? Plus, also like, if this is there, if Awesome Man is this version of like Shazam, like fire breath, just like, come on, like, stick with your characters, Joe. If you're gonna say that these are blatant ripoffs of certain things, like, come on, like, stick with it. Like, I would have thought, like, didn't Awesome Man have like lightning powers from an episode before? Now he just has flame breath now, and we kind of have it where consistently Golden Goddess is kind of doing these X's with her arms, to like I guess to kind of just brace herself because I guess she doesn't have like the bouncing off, uh, like uh, wristbands like Golden or Wonder Woman does. So like she's obviously like straight up just the Wonder Woman version of this character, and it's so funny. I was just waiting for like the lasso of lies or something like that. Like, oh, like if he tells a lie, then just say whatever the opposite is. Like, I was expecting some rope to just pop out, or some other kind of thing to pop out. Anyways, so Awesome Man goes on and takes Nighthawk and gets the heck out of there. And Nighthawk is just coughing off a storm, maybe because of his brain damage from the cortex, or maybe just the fact that he was gagged by that superpower. And so we of course have Awesome Man who's telling Nighthawk, it's like, well, hey, I'm ready for my interview. Like, whatever you want to go on and whatever you want to question me, like, I'll tell you the truth. And Nighthawk's like, I don't need to question you. And Awesome Man's like, why not? Like, maybe I did do it. Maybe I did. He freaking did do it. I bet he did. Because he's the least expected person. But Nighthawk is like, no, like, you're a good man. And so eventually we have it where, of course, Speed is to say the exact same thing as Awesome Man, is to give Speed some flowers, and like, it just seems like they're kissing and they're loving and they're so on and so forth. Like, good for freaking Derek Mears, the guy who of course plays Awesome Man, Derek Mears, or Mares. I'm hoping I'm ballparkingly saying that correctly. Probably. How about I just say Mur, and it'll sound like it, right? My bad. But if I didn't mention it before, like, it's kind of cool. Derek and Kellen Lutz were in the movie Arena from 2011, and it's kind of cool to see kind of both these characters in one episode together doing things, especially with Tsunami actually having something to do in this show besides just being a guy on a screen somewhere. It'll be interesting to see if he does something somewhere down the road, maybe. Like, there's only 2 episodes left, so I can't really hope for much because they keep freaking adding people anyways. Also, I completely forgot about the Meow character. I'm just jazzed about that character. So let's get into it. So we had a character, I believe, in the last episode that I didn't get to because I really didn't give a because I don't. It's a combination between a cheetah and Catwoman equivalent, but it's basically just straight up just Catwoman. So Catwoman, or I'm sorry, the Meow. The Meow, of course, was this woman. Was to date this other woman, and she was to fall madly in love, and come to find out this, the Meows, I'm just gonna call her Meow. 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 Meow loses her lover. Meow's lover dies. And so, in a fit of rage, we go on and we have Meow, who seeks justice against these police officers and starts gunning them all down. And so, Marvelous Man is to just go on and just like, well, like, I can't have you be a guardian of justice anymore because of what you did. You just killed all those innocent people. Book 'em, Dano. Arrest Meow and put her in Bedlam Asylum, aka Arkham Asylum. So we have both Marvelous Man, we have both Meow, who are kind of just crying heavily teared CGI tears, because crying is hard to do. Just like the fountains of water that are just coming out of their eyes is just crazy. But it's a cool effect also. And so we have Marvelous Man, who's just like, you killed all those people. And Meow's like, I had to get justice. So on and so forth. So, but we find out that I guess Meow eventually did did serve her time, and now it seemed that Nighthawk had decided to just fund Meow's future operation for Meow to be some... I can't stop laughing at it. I don't know why. Meow becomes this informant for Nighthawk. And so, consistently in these episodes, we have Nighthawk's real name, Atticus, consistently used in this episode. If I can remember one thing, I guess it's really that. Meow is telling Atticus, John, God, I can't stop laughing at a goofy name like Meow being used. The Meow. What the fuck? That has got to be the stupidest name for any character. They could have called her the Feline, or like they could have called her they could have called her the Kitty Lick Lick character. I would have liked that a little bit more. Maybe they could have called her the Kitty. The Kitty, that would have worked. I don't know that. I don't know. I feel kind of fitty. Anyways, so Meow talks with Atticus and is like, you know what? Like, you should just retire and like you should go on and like just spend all that huge, massive amount of money that you have. And Atticus is like, no, like I can't. So we go on and we have Phil Hart that is interviewing a number of people, interviewing both Black Bow and Blue Scream, and then he goes on and interviews Speed. Speed is going on saying that Marvelous Man was to just be boring. I would probably say that he was probably a lot more of like a cookie cutter, or kind of like... I wonder if this guy had like a severe like dark side to him, because you can only be like Leave It to Beaver for so long. Kind of like how we had the guy from the Boys, where of course we have whatever his name was, Captain Liberty or whatever, the guy who used to be the Superman version from the Boys. And I know, like, I'll probably remember it by the time the show goes back on. We had that one guy who is to be very Leave to Beaver, and we find out that he's an a-hole, just disguising himself as a Leave It to Beaver guy, to where we just find out that the more and more we kind of scoop into this guy's brain, the more we find out that this guy is just really portraying this like nice, clean-cut guy, but really he has a severe dark side. And I'm wondering if we're gonna just get that with Marvelous Man, where we're gonna just find out that this guy had like just like the darkest freaking brain, and we're gonna see this massive other side to this guy, and we're gonna be like, whoa, no wonder. Like he was trying to just fight off something vicious. So, because technically he's an alien from another planet, and now he's gonna have to forcibly just come here and save everybody? Just out of nowhere? I don't know. So, in this other episode, we of course, after Speed is to mention that Marvelous Man is a cliche, that he's boring, that he's just kind of this and that, he's kind of truth, justice, American way, kind of like very Captain America-ish for a lot of Marvel people out there. If you are out there. Anyways. So, I get that reference. Anyways... Speed goes on, and of course it's to be interviewed by Nighthawk. And so it seems out of the whole entire group, honestly, it seems like Speed is the most suspicious person within this whole story. And you know what? With how she was kind of like forced into the first episode, where she had to go on and kind of do like drop this guy off here, drip, like take this person over there, and I would have just been like, yeah, this. I killed Marvelous. Like, yeah, I'm sick of that guy. Like, yeah, like have me do all the heavy lifting once he freaking croaks. So as Nighthawk is talking to Speed, the more and more he talks to her, and Speed just go on and on and on about like, well, yeah, I don't trust you, and like maybe you did it, and you're just trying to curve it around and say that someone else is doing it, but maybe you really did. And Nighthawk is just immediately thinking, well, like I don't think you did it. So we go on somewhere in the end of this episode, and so Speed is to all of a sudden get this phone call from Motion Blur, and Speed is saying like, oh, okay, well, uh, go on and use your power, and I'll be able to figure out where you are. So Speed goes and finds Motion Blur and starts beating the crap out of him, which I'm like, okay, great. Here's another action sequence that we get of a number of people that are now on this show. Like we get like 2 action sequences, wait, well, we get technically 3 because Nighthawk did go and beat up some people, some folks, and there was that whole kind of fight technically between Awesome Man and Golden Goddess and Nighthawk a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So Motion Blur and Speed here fighting it out, duking out. I actually kind of like, even though it feels like Motion Blur is his visuals are kind of random, but I kind of like his costume weirdly. Kind of has like some Casey Jones kind of vibes. Like it kind of like this character also weirdly looks like the white version of Vibe from Flash. No offense, like the shoe fits. So Speed is going on and fighting it out with Motion Blur, and of course she is to bust this guy's knee and take him down, and so she unmasks him, and we have, of course, where Speed is asking Motion Blur about Marvelous, and Motion Blur is just like, well, like Marvelous killed himself. Like they're like you guys can go round and round and round about who really killed this guy, but I think Marvelous just did himself in. Like you got like, and I'm thinking that too. Like I think he just did himself in. I don't think we're gonna go on and have this big massive reveal at the end of this season that all of a sudden it was just like, oh, like it was this person who did it, because I feel like they're already exhausting all of their answers, and I don't think that Nighthawk is going to go on and find that Mastermind did it, or Mind Master did it, or Master Debater, or whatever. That was a horrible insult, and that didn't need to be said, but I said it anyways. Um, because goofy names deserve goofy nicknames. So I don't think it's going to be Mind Master either, who controlled Marvelous and had him shoot him. I don't think that's it. I don't think that's a culprit, because Mastermind would have to go on and control other people to get what he needs. Like, how does that explain the whole, like, how did Mastermind or Mind Master how did Mind Master go on and get that bullet? Because unless Mind Master controlled Marvelous to get his own bullet to shoot him, which I think Marvelous went on and got his own bullet from that evilish guy and then shot himself. Problem solved, crime solved. So, yeah, so with that said, I think that covers most of these episodes. Let me know if there's some big, massive thing that I usually forgot about, because I'm sure there's probably that possibility. And plus, also, these episodes are probably roughly like 20 some odd minutes, and it took me 55 so far. But I'm just trying to think of things and put things together, and so I apologize for how long this took. There's a lot of crap just talk about in these episodes. Uh, Nighthawk went on to talk to Little Wing about the meow story and how guardians should never fall in love, which I think was like the title episode of one of the episodes. I don't know why. But anyways, so yeah. So I think that technically finishes it up. I'm gonna get out of here so I can go on and just kind of rest, because I ended up I did 3 videos and I put out 2. So there's that for you. For me to eventually just kind of put out a video that I know may not do what I desirably would like it to do, which is a thing. But hey, like that's the the gamble that I take when I go on and put a video out every day. So thank you for watching this. Thank you for being a part of the channel. If you decided upon this one video to subscribe or otherwise like whatever, you can do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, thank you for saying that you watched this video, because I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody. Hopefully I remember technically, or if there is anything that I forget, I will just go on and do a rebuttal on the next episode, or because it'll be tomorrow anyways, and maybe something will just jog my memory, or somebody can just comment and I'll just kind of like oh yeah, like that, I forgot about that, and I'll talk about it in the rebuttal for the tomorrow episode. So with that said, yeah, goodbye everybody. Bye everybody.